we're going to talk a little bit about digital objects. So what do we mean by digital objects and where have they come from? So digital objects are objects that come from the gaming world that are unique items. And games have had items in them since the very dawn of video gaming. If we go back to the first games, we think of things like Pac-Man and we think of Galaga. The first arcade games had the concept of individual objects that you could pick up and acquire. But those objects really only existed within that session of the game. Once you'd finished playing the game, the object disappeared. Then we evolved to the sort of the second level of objects, which was persistence within the game universe. So if you think about games like Doom, if you acquired the BFG in Doom, I'm sure you guys have played Doom before, that object persisted through multiple games. If you were playing in a limited multiplayer type format, you could get the BFG, somebody else may not get the BFG. So you started to have this idea of a limited idea of scarcity within gaming. And then if you move forward, you move to the sort of massive multiplayer online gaming boom that was brought about by the internet. Suddenly, because you had many players networking and playing the same game, you had the ability to have scarcity within a game environment. So if you had a particular sword in World of Warcraft, there may only be 5 or 10 of those in existence. We were seeing the dawn of digital objects being traded within the game world for sometimes thousands of dollars in order to, on private marketplaces and done in a very ad hoc type way. And if you fast forward to where we are now, one of the big games that still uses this approach to trading digital objects and is a walled ecosystem is Fortnite. And we all know how successful Fortnite's been. Fortnite objects exist within the Fortnite game world. What's interesting with Fortnite is they've started to commercialize those in different ways by working with brands, people like Samsung, who will then sponsor rare content within the game if you go and buy a Samsung Galaxy S9, for example. But then we move on to what we think is the sort of the fourth generation of digital objects, which is what we've been talking about in this session around non-fungible tokens. And the big difference between these and other objects is that they can exist independent of the game, that they are greater than the game. But there are still limitations with these digital objects. It was interesting hearing Paul and Alistair talking about the fact that it's very clunky to build a game using blockchain technology, and that these objects are, it can be traded. You need to have an Ethereum wallet set up. You need to have MetaMask installed. It's still not easy. What we're focused on as BlockV is what we think is the missing piece of all of this, which is the interface layer for these digital objects. So we have this concept of an object that we call the VATOM. It stands for virtual atom. And we use a number of different technologies that we've wrapped into this concept of a digital object. The first one is obviously blockchain. So these digital objects are scarce. If I have an item and I send it to you, I don't have it anymore. But one of the things I've heard in the last few sessions is the idea that not everything needs to exist on the blockchain. Blockchain is expensive and blockchain is slow. So our blockchain objects, we abstract whatever blockchain technology it is. So you can have blockchain objects which exist off-chain for the cheap and easy and commodity objects. And then if you have the scarce objects, those can exist on-chain, either on Ethereum or on EOS. And actually, as a developer, you don't care, because we handle all of that complexity for you, including all the complexity of handling wallets. So what that means is if I want to send you an object and I have your phone number, I can send you the object direct to your phone without you having to go and instantiate an Ethereum wallet, sign up with MetaMask and all that other great stuff. We also pull in virtual reality and augmented reality so these objects can exist in different ways and in different forms. And all the assets and attributes for those objects are all pulled into a central place. And then there's other things that we bring, location technology, so objects can exist on a map in augmented reality, Pokemon Go style, if you will, that can be picked up. They have independent logical processes that existing objects don't have, so that you can actually allow them to move around the map. They can be independent of the device that they exist on, or they may not exist on any device at all. And we'll show you that in a second. Oops. But it's worth mentioning that we as a company are not a gaming technology company. We are a digital objects company. And actually, we've taken the idea of digital objects from gaming and we've applied it to a load of other different industries. So most of the engagement that we have is within the retail industry, it's within brand, it's within sports engagement, fan engagement, and music engagement. And these are just some of the digital objects that we've created over the last 2 or 3 years that sort of illustrate the breadth of capabilities that we have as a platform. What I want to do is show you, before I come back into the world of gaming, I want to show you a video that we took last week in New York. So we were partnered with Intel at Intel's booth at a massive retail conference in the Javits Center, which is called the NRF. And what we had is 2 different things. Firstly, we had blockchain-enabled digital objects flying around the Javits Center with their own independent intelligence processes, running in the cloud, and you could actually pick these objects up, and each one of them could contain a charity donation, or it could contain a voucher or a prize or whatever. And this was a digital billboard that we built, where each of the objects on that digital billboard was a unique blockchain-based object that you could hold your phone up with a camera, run image recognition on it, and pull the object straight off the billboard. Now, we can show you that upstairs at at B50 if you want to come and have a look and see how that works. And obviously, we're working with some pretty interesting companies in the retail space. But let's get back to gaming. So what does it mean for gaming? Well, if I take this conversation around the evolution of digital objects a stage further, so we talked about the idea that objects exist within a game world. What we've talked about with non-fungible tokens is the idea that objects can be traded between users, and that they can be traded they can be used in multiple games. Those are conversations that have been had this morning. But what we're interested in as BlockV is more than that. We're interested in enabling digital objects to be collected from other industries. So, for example, it could be sponsorship from a brand that enables you to collect a specific gun or a specific weapon within a game that you can only acquire through scanning their billboard. And then that can be brought into the game world and played with within the game world. And potentially, we can even then do stuff out the other side. You could be playing a first-person shooter. You could see an object, let's say for the sake of argument, my favorite drink, a bottle of Johnny Walker, on a table in the game world. You could pick that up as a game object. It would transfer into your wallet on your mobile phone, and you could then redeem that in a shop for a real bottle of Johnny Walker. Obviously, if my son is playing the game, we probably wouldn't do Johnny Walker. It would probably be a Pepsi or a Coke or something. And that's what our technology enables. It's not just non-fungible tokens. It's not just abstracting blockchain. It's this whole piece around the outside. And that, in turn, means revenue. It's new revenue opportunities for games. So you can start to use advertising revenue to drive revenue through your game versus the traditional models of pay-to-play and freemium that we've already talked about this morning. So just to leave you with a couple of demos, or a couple of videos. So upstairs we're with our friends, Tamika Games, Estella, who have one of the best-selling launch titles for the Oculus Rift, which is Radial G, and we've been working with them to have objects that are within the game, easily transportable and existing outside of the game using our technology. And this is just, by the way, in a web browser. This isn't download an app. This is all running through a web browser. Another example, our friends at Adverty have some really impressive technology that enables you to place adverts within a game. So this is a nice example that they've done with KitKat, where you can go into KitKat world and interact with the brand. But what we've done with this is we've said, okay, once you've interacted with the brand, wouldn't it be nice if that object then exists outside of the digital world and transfers into your mobile wallet? And you can then actually interact with that. And I don't know, maybe go to Tesco's and redeem it for a real KitKat. That's going to give a completely different level of engagement. The last example I want to show you is unfortunately it's not a movie because it's about 200 meg, but if you come up to B50 you can actually see it working live. I don't know if you guys have started developing in high fidelity yet. High fidelity is a multiplayer VR environment, but what we've been demoing in high fidelity is the other way around, which is the idea that you take digital objects from the world. In this case, you'll see we have a bit of a fixation with beer and coffee. I have no idea why. picking those objects up and then actually putting them into the game world. And again, Lucas, I don't know why you've recorded this, because you're handing a beer to a small child, which is probably a really bad idea as well. But then, you can use those objects. And the demo we'll show you upstairs is actually a torch, flashlight, that you can pick up. We're shining it around. You can have it as an object. It's on an EOS blockchain. You can turn it on and turn it off and see the states change on EOS. You can transfer it into a virtual world or a gaming world and then use it as an in-game item and even drop it within the game. And it will exist in a VR geolocation as opposed to an AR geolocation. So, how do you get started with all of this? Well, firstly, come by and talk to us about what you're looking at and the challenges that you're looking to overcome. But you can register on our website, developer.blockv.io. It's really straightforward. We've got some great documentation there. We also have SDKs for web, for iOS and Android. We're in the final stages of testing our Unity SDK, which is really cool. And we also have a plugin for high fidelity as well if you're working in the VR world. And it's really, really straightforward to start building Vatums. I was talking to Paul outside from Stick Cricket, asking him how long it took to build that bat use case, and it was taking a guy 3 months to do that. That's something that you could do within our platform within a few hours to a few days, depending on how good a faster learner you are. Okay, last but not least, so just to make this a little bit of fun and to show that this technology is actually real and does exist outside of PowerPoint, we've got a little bit of a competition. So we have drones and butterflies, which are augmented reality 3D digital autonomous things flying around this exhibition center as we speak. If you go to vatum.com, which is our web client, and you access, you log in with your phone number, you will actually be able to see these things moving around the map, and you'll be able to pick them up. Now, the drones themselves contain various different things. We've got some Amazon Alexas upstairs to give away. We've also got some Costa coffee cards as well. So have a go, log on and have a play and see how you get on. And please drop by us and come and see us on booth B50.
Excellent, thank you. John, do we have any questions while he's here? Yes.
Sure.
Oh, just wait for the microphone to come through, just so we have it recorded for posterity.
Just a question on the blockchain.
Sure.
Is it on?
Hello, just okay.
You say you are as well.
Yeah, okay. A question on the blockchain tech behind it. So you've mentioned you're running on the EOS blockchain, and I've just downloaded your app, by the way. So
good.
Vatum is a wallet,
yes,
right? I haven't set it up yet. So is that the typical sign-up process that I, as a consumer, have to write down the seed phrase,
no,
or do you have custody in your Vatum app?
So within our back-end platform, and it's worth pointing out that we're not an app company, we're a platform. So within our back-end platform, we create a user profile for you, and we manage your keys for that particular wallet. Now, so what that means is when you're going through a sign-up process, all you need to do is enter a phone number, and we'll send you back a one-time passcode. Now, bear in mind we're not dealing with sort of Fort Knox type objects, but that level of security is great because it reduces the friction that you need in order to start playing with this stuff. So if you have a go on the demo, within literally typing a phone number in and typing in a 4-digit code to authenticate you, you can pick up a butterfly that exists as an autonomous digital life form on the blockchain and start transferring it between different people. So it's about reducing that friction.
And because those assets are represented on the EOS blockchain.
So they're on Ethereum, those ones, actually, the butterflies.
Say it again?
They're on Ethereum. They're ERC 721.
All right, so they are. So I could trade them with somebody else.
Yes.
But I guess the idea with your cooperation partners is to effectively have coupons or vouchers, and people wouldn't trade them necessarily. They would redeem them, or
so it's yes. I mean, you can certainly redeem them. I guess the point is that having one of the things that was brought up earlier on is the idea that using blockchain type technology is expensive and it's slow and it's clunky. So what we said is, look, as a developer, we have a digital objects platform. Not every digital object has to exist on a blockchain, right? It can exist on our own sidechain, or it can exist within, EOS or Ethereum or whatever you need it to exist, depending on the use case. There's no point paying gas prices for individual small, cheap, highly commodity type objects. But if you've got the stuff which is super scarce, that's when you should look to enable the blockchain functionality, and obviously you have to pay the gas price when you do that.
So practically, I would imagine that it first sits in your app, so
Yes.
the high-value item, and then I can press like a eject button, and then it pops out onto the main chain, right? Into my wallet. Is that how?
It's slightly more complex than that.
All right.
But yes.